to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and your Philadelphia Union have won back-to-back games for the first time since March. And the Union head to Montreal this upcoming weekend. Could they make it a possible 9 points out of 9? We shall see. But we're not here to talk about that game, or at least not until later. We're here to talk about the 3-0 win over D.C. United from Subaru Park. The Philadelphia Union 4-1-1 at Subaru Park, which ties their most wins, or ties the wins total last year at Subaru Park with 4, which is so crazy to think about that. The Philadelphia Union only won 4 games all in MLS at Subaru Park. Not great. But you know what is great? Having José Nuñez join me on this show. Jose, how are you?
You're an idiot.
You
what
like
a
that?
segue.
That's good.
I'm doing well. I was I think maybe as shocked as you are when you put it into that perspective, in terms of the wins at home for the year so far, already equaling the, I think fair to say, unmitigated disaster that was last year at home, losing games in every possible way imaginable, at least in MLS. So happy that the players and the club, Bradley Carnell, et cetera, have sort of figured out how to crack this nut. But it's also perspective, right? They've gone back-to-back home games against back-to-back teams that on paper, at least one should be a heck of a lot better, and the others maybe just where they're supposed to be. So perspective's everything, but they can only play who's in front of them. So now they ship off to Montreal probably, Friday?
Yeah, I would assume.
Morning or something like that. Yeah, Friday morning.
Or afternoon after practice.
Yeah, for what should be, I don't want never easy, but should be another 3 points ahead of what could be a heavily rotated Union side against Indy 11 in the U.S. Open Cup.
Absolutely. Shaggy said, let's go. What's up, Shaggy? Thanks for joining us. Michael says, 8 o'clock. What is this? Yeah, not our typical 9 o'clock, but at least we are recording on Sunday. So last 2 episodes were on Monday. So thank you guys for joining. Mandy says, winning feels so good. Thank you for joining, Mandy. Shaggy also says,
tell him why.
Winning feels
I can
awesome.
tell him why we're recording at 10.
Go ahead.
I can tell him why we're recording at 8. I'm a dork, and I do dork things, like locking in at 9 p.m. with my cousins to watch The Last of Us on HBO. Fully aware what happens. I've played the game multiple times over, but it's nice to sort of follow along with people who haven't. So that's why we have a tight window. Sorry to interrupt, Todd.
No, you're good. So get the people behind the scenes what you're doing. So we probably won't banter too much or just go off topic, but I don't know. Maybe we do. I think Ali did this because of your 2 jerseys behind you, 20-time champions. Talking about Liverpool beating Tottenham 5-1. I mean, oh my God, what a terrible team, Tottenham. I mean, I can't talk. I mean, being a Manchester United fan, I mean, they're just as bad as Tottenham. So it's crazy to think that maybe one of those teams get to play in a Europa League final, but maybe both of those teams lose in the semifinal. Neither team gets to play for a spot in the Champions League next season. Mike Thomas checking in says, woo. Thank you, Mike. Jillian, what's up? She says, yes, The Last of Us. Also, hi, guys. Hello, Jillian. Well, like I said, tight window. Let's get straight into it, Jose. And again, Union go with the same back line like they did last week against Atlanta United. Keep another clean sheet with these guys. Nathan Harriel playing as a center back. Jakob Glesnes, obviously a center back. Frankie Westfield making his, 8th, 9th appearance this season, picking up his 2nd assist, 3rd if you count MLS secondary assist. Fantastic season Frankie Westfield's had. But the Union came out with their team notes after the game in the press release. And this is something that I wasn't aware of. And I don't know if you were either, Jose, or maybe people listening. But with the win last night, the Union remain unbeaten at home against DC United since 2017. 10 years. That is insane. 10 years DC United have come into Subaru Park without winning a game. That is an insane streak. And the Union have 79 goals all time in MLS against DC United, which is the most against any team in club history. I mean, yeah, I know that we joke about DC United Philadelphia as a rivalry, but when you put it in that perspective, DC haven't won in 10 years at Subaru Park. 79 goals they've been scored on. I think the Union have 21 wins in all competition in MLS with home and away. I mean, this is completely one-sided. And last night's game didn't really feel that way, in my opinion. I think DC United had chances. I think the Union didn't create a lot of chances, and I think that's a good segue into the first topic. Start negative and then end maybe positive. But I guess my number one question to you, Jose, your first question is there any concern on your end that the Union really haven't created any chances the last four games, in my opinion? Yeah, maybe you can argue they created chances against Atlanta United, but looking on FootMob, the last four games for the Union, they have seven big chances created. They have 28 big chances created on the season in MLS, which is the third most. But these last four games, they've averaged 1.75 chances the last four games, where overall in 10 games, they averaged 2.8. So they're down below. And I'm sure people are going to comment right away. Well, a big part of that is the last four games is no Daniel Gazdag. Not having Daniel Gazdag creating chances is a big drop off. So I looked it up, and prior to Daniel Gazdag leaving the Union, he created 12 chances for the Union, which was the third most. So yes, the Union are losing a little bit of that creativity, but looking at these four games, yes, I'm aware that the Union won against Atlanta United, won against DC, and we're talking about winning against the teams they're supposed to win against, but not really creating a ton of chances. And you see it this game against DC United, 2 goals off of set pieces, 1 out of individual skill with Danley Jean Jacques, which was a good goal from Danley, but not really creating like they once were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I am and am not, right, because they are winning the games, and it's if anything, it's sort of showing that they're figuring out how to win regardless, or more or less punishing teams, right, by forcing them to cough out the ball or make mistakes, etc. But ultimately, it also makes you wonder, right? And this is going to be a soundbite that some in the audience right now would be like, "Oh, well, you're contradicting yourself." It's like, yeah, they probably could have gone back and found somebody, maybe, in terms of someone more creative, right? Or someone with some creativity, because Vasilev is probably not that, right, in terms of being the creative power force for the Union. But it, there you go. I think what Indy gives you is that relentlessness. So when you pair him in some way, shape, or form with Quinn on either side, or yeah, on the 4-2-2-2-2, it's like, okay, you're getting relentless work rate out there to get them to cough up the ball, or kick it out of bounds, so you can have an easy throw in already, 70 yards up the field, that type of thing. So am I concerned? Maybe a little bit, but at this point, if they're winning and punishing teams off of their own mistakes and not having to create much themselves, which is, again, like, go back to that introductory press conference. That's exactly what Bradley Cornell wants to do with this team. And I think you and I talked about this, Todd, briefly. Is that the way that DC United and Philadelphia Union play are really not that different, right? Where it comes down to heaving the ball up, maybe skipping some layers of progression when it comes from, Andre Blake to Nate Harriel playing center back, to finding someone in the middle of the field, to then finding a striker. What's often happening is Blake finding Westfield to then kick it up to find Damiani, or honestly find a head of a defender. And that's where it diverts, right? Where you have Philadelphia then being better than DC United by having their cues of pressing, or knowing where to stay, or stand, I should say, once the ball gets turned over, versus DC United, who obviously just are not there yet. And that obviously is a roster that's a work in progress, a lot of bright spots, but ultimately a very, very different team. And I know we also joked about it, Todd, but like, you look at the Union roster, and then you look at Montreal, or you look at DC United. It's like, yeah, maybe life isn't so bad for fans in Philadelphia when you think about what's available in Philly versus what's available elsewhere. So, not too concerned. I'll be concerned once they are not towards the top of the table and scoring goals.
Yeah, and maybe I mean, you're right. They're winning games, back-to-back wins against Atlanta United, DC United. They beat two teams that they should have beaten. We'll talk about that a little bit later on the show, because I do want to talk about that. This is totally different than what we saw last year between the Union this year and last year, where the Union, a lot of games that they should have won or at least got points in, didn't happen. And this year, yeah, not so much. Union taking care of business, which is great. But a lot of fans brought up Indiana Vasilov, and I'm glad they did. And you had touched on it at the beginning right there, Jose, right? Where he's great for pressing. He's good at knowing the pressing cues, winning the ball back, but he doesn't offer the same creativity that Daniel Gazdag once had. Like I had said, 12 chances that Daniel Gazdag created with the Union prior to going to Columbus. And now in his 3 games, I think it's 3 games, Gonzalez played with Columbus. He's created 5 chances so far. So, I mean, yeah, he's going into a team that's going to have a lot of the ball, which I think probably helps his game a little bit. And he's going to get in spots where he's going to have opportunities to score, but he's also linking up well with his teammates. And so, I'm not really surprised to see Daniel Gaza fitting in so well with a Columbus team that maybe plays a little bit to his abilities. And I believe you are looking at how many games Gazag's played. I think it's 3, but you'll double check with me. But regardless,
Yeah.
Indiana Vasilov 3.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, Indiana Vasilov, I mean, just isn't offering that same creativity, which is fine for the time being. But the biggest challenge, or the biggest indicator, is going to be that match against Columbus in a couple weeks, into Miami when they come to town in a couple weeks. And I do wonder, you were on the game last night covering Cincinnati versus Sporting Kansas City, and I do wonder if the Union were to play Cincinnati right now, I don't think that would have been a 4-1 Philadelphia Union win like it was the second week of the season, where Cincinnati's still in CCC play. And you look at the goal that Denke scores last night, beautiful bicycle kick. And unfortunately for Jakob Glesnes, I don't think he's going to win goal of the week because of that goal from Denke. But Glesnes should be up there for the goal of the year contender, I would imagine, with a strike like that from a center back, hits it on the volley, laces, beautiful strike by Jakob Glesnes. But yeah, I do wonder what this team is going to look like against a better team, a Columbus in a couple of weeks and into Miami a couple of weeks. And I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but for the time being, you'll take what you get from Indiana Vasilov, and if he creates one chance, you're happy with that. But the pressing that you're getting from him, the turnovers that he's forcing and everything, that's exactly what Bradley Cornell wants from Indiana Vasilov in this system.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I'll say is, and I think it's all about perspective too, and taking a step back, is that the Union are second in the league when it comes to goal differential, right behind Vancouver by 3 goals. So, like, I know we're talking about goal and creating chances, and I'll never forget. I know we continue to riff about it, Todd, but what are big chances, right? Remember the Jim Curtin question of, like, I don't even know what big chances are. And, like, of course, like, it's a little bit more spelled out in FOTMob and not to be an analytics dork, but, like, I get it. But once, maybe as things settle, maybe the Union, that goal differential will level out to be something more middle of the pack, and maybe that's the reality. But right now, I can't be too worried about whether or not they're creating enough chances if they are literally second in the league to Vancouver in terms of the goal differential, which also goes to speak maybe a little bit about the defense being so different this year. And sure, Andre Blake being there, maybe Glesnes finding somewhere in between 2022 and well above 2024. So, like, somewhere, I don't know. It's really interesting to take a step back and look at the league as a whole. And if you really think about it, the Eastern Conference is just a battleground right now, with everybody being so good.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's beating up on each other. You see Dallas before we did the show. Huge result down in Miami, 4-3. Yes, I know Miami's missing Busquets. Alba, I don't think, played. Suarez, Messi. I mean, they're missing the big guys. But regardless, that's still a talented team. A lot of young players. And to see Miami blow a 3-1 lead, what do they say? A 2-goal lead's the most dangerous in all of soccer. And credit to FC Dallas for going down to Miami and coming back 4-3. And fantastic game to watch for the neutral. And like I said, I mean, Cincinnati started the season low. Now that they're out of CCC, I mean, they seem to be finding their form. 5 straight wins, I believe it is, which is the longest win streak in MLS. Columbus 6 now.
I think. Wait.
I thought you wrote in the report 5. Maybe it's 6. I don't know.
Pretty sure it's 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 6.
Well, regardless, I mean, they're in fine form.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's incredible form that, like, I think any one team would be thrilled about. Yeah, I believe it's 6. So good on them, man. Like that's a good run.
Yeah, and just I mean, people are like, I don't know why people are so down on Indiana Vasilov. Like he's good on this system. I saw a comment that said that Indiana Vasilov is to Cornell what Bedoya was to Jim Curtin, and I agree. I mean, coaches are going to have their guys, and so I have no issues with that. Indiana Vasilov fills a role, but again, when you need more chance creation, are the Union going to get that against the better teams? We will see. The one person who I think is happy though, watching the Union on this 2-game winning streak, especially now with the window closed, Union don't make any moves, which maybe some people are going to say, I told you so. I was pretty optimistic that the Union would make a move before the window closed, but now we got to wait until the summertime if the Union do decide to do something. But the one person that this impresses is Ernst Tanner. He had said it in that video that they believe they have the depth. 2 wins. And I know it's against teams you're supposed to win against, but Ernst Tanner is looking like a genius. When you have those 2 wins, you have players coming off the bench contributing. Indiana Vasilov, who was off the bench when Daniel Gazdag was here, now into the lineup as a starter. You see Kevin Sullivan play significant minutes yesterday. Jeremy Raffanello plays some minutes. Jesus Bueno starts this game for the first time since the League's Cup third place game for the Union. Yes, he's been dealing with a hamstring injury, but look, again, Ernst Tanner said they have depth, and the depth has contributed these last 2 wins. And the Union transfer window closed, can't go out and make a deal until the summertime. And so they got to continue to ride these results. Like Mike Thomas had said, Montreal should be a winning game. Don't want to get too ahead of ourselves right now. But again, you're winning the games that you should win. One more thing that I want to bring up, though, is D.C. United had chances in this game. I think Frankie Westfield had a good game, had an assist, but he struggled at times defensively against Jacob Merle, the winger, striker, whatever you want to label him as the DC United attacking threat. He had that big one-on-one chance against Andre Blake in the 41st minute, made Jakob Glesnes look an absolute fool, chested down to Baji. Glesnes completely out of position. I get it. That comes with the territory, that comes with the style of play, pressing high, trying to win the ball back. But it was so simple for Jacob, though, just the chest down into Baji, and then Baji gives the return pass, and now Jacob's in 1v1 against Andre Blake, and Blake comes up with a really good save. But prior to that, he had a cross into Baji that Baji gets a header to. Andre Blake comes up with a save there, and then he has that acrobatic scissor kick, bicycle kick, whatever you want to call, where he gets in behind Frankie Westfield. And I thought for DC United, he was the danger man. No Christian Benteke this game, no Preglo, who scored against New York Red Bulls, I believe it was last week, right? And Quinn Sullivan beat him out for beat him out for goal of the week. But yes, the DC United had chances in this game. And to the Union's credit, defensively, Andre Blake comes up with that big save in the 41st minute. You need good goalkeeping. I saw the comment here from Mike a little while ago. He said, where is it? He said something about Andre Blake. You need Andre Blake healthy. Here it is. Andre Blake, please stay healthy. His impact on goal differential can't be overstated. And yeah, we all remember what happened in 2022. And so, yeah, Andre Blake coming out with another clean sheet, back-to-back clean sheets. His 4th clean sheet this season, 80th, I believe now in MLS, which was the 2nd fastest in MLS history at 253 games. And he'll go down as a top 3 greatest goalkeeper ever in MLS. But yes, I mean, beating the teams you're supposed to beat, picking up those points, and the goal differential is going to go a huge way. But all that said, DC United had chances in this game.
No, they absolutely did. And, to your point about Ernst, like we mentioned it after the Atlanta win, but man, imagine if that New York City loss would have been a draw or a win, right? And then you have a streak of 3 straight wins or a draw and then 2 wins. You sort of start thinking like, oh, okay, well, maybe this guy was onto something. And, we don't have to wax poetic on the work that the scouting team does and finding these players, because again, imagine having, for everybody watching, being a supporter of Atlanta, they go and spend that type of money to be 12th place with a -8 goal differential is just unbelievable. Never mind, I think also Austin's not doing wasn't doing so hot the last couple of games too, with a -3, but somehow find themselves in eighth in terms of like supporter shield race. So yeah, it's to me, yes, you want this team to continue to push, improve. I think it'll happen. I think summer, that window, I think that's when you're actually going to see some departures as well as inbounds. Uh, who? Well, you'll have to wait and see, I'm sure. But it's between now and the first week of that transfer window. I think it's going to be very telling of who's going to stay and who's not going to be there. And I just saw Michael's comment. My goodness, one below. Lukic. I was so nervous that was going to be a difficult player to maybe replace, and those first 20 minutes, as Michael mentioned in a subsequent comment or a previous comment, were a little shaky. I was watching out the side of my eye as I was typing away on my story for MLS soccer on Cincinnati, and it's like, oh man, Lukic really does a lot, especially when it comes to push the ball forward when he finally gets a hold of it. So yeah, I don't even know what you asked. I just started rambling. I'm sorry.
I mean, I feel like I was too. I mean, we're on a time crunch, so I think we're just trying to get as many points in before we have to end the show. But yeah, let's talk about from defense to getting goals. And Danley Jean Jacques, he scores in his second consecutive game. Union have gotten goals from 5 different players, and 5 different players, I should say, that aren't forwards. Danley, Glesnes, Lukic, Quinn Sullivan. If you wanted to count Daniel Gosling not as a forward, I mean, I kind of see Daniel Gosling as a part of that forward play just because of all the goals that he's contributed the last couple of years. But if you don't include him, then it would be 6 different players. But look, the Union, as things stand right now, tied for the second most goals in MLS, or this was prior to the show. It might be different now, but still second. Yep. Tied with Nashville for second. San Jose lead the league with 20 goals. But yeah, it's so important, I think, for this Union team when your strikers aren't scoring goals. Bruno Damiani, I saw the comments, beautiful goal off the bench. Jose, we can talk about that a little bit if you want. I mean, the strength, that's a typical Bruno Damiani goal. That's exactly where he wants the ball, where he's going to hold off the striker. Lucas Bartlett was a center back for DC United, and then he turns, I mean, so effortlessly. He makes it look so easy, but that's the type of service that Bruno Damiani needs. He's going to crash the box hard, and I think there may be something to this, Jose. I don't know what your opinion is, but I think Mikel Orr and Damiani work better than Damiani and Ty Bribo. I see those two as a little bit too similar, where out of the 3 players, Mikel has the fastest legs, in my opinion, with stretching the back line, getting in behind. Damiani and Bribo don't really offer you that. And I've liked what I've seen out of the partnership between Damiani and Mikel. And it is nice to have back-to-back games where you have strikers coming off the bench and scoring goals. Last week it was Bribo, and now this week it was Damiani.
Yeah, I would have sworn, and yeah, I'm probably on the record somewhere, and whether it's through writing or just speaking it, into the microphone with you or with Mike and Dave, but like, I would have swore that a Damiani Baribo partnership would have been the ideal one to have some sort of diversity in terms of what they can provide and what they can do. But it seems like like this partnership's working, and I earnestly thought about using the Damiani goal video or some of the pictures from, I mean, some unbelievable pictures came out after that play of, Damiani basically carrying carrying the player like those, what you see, like the kids wearing like the monkey backpack with a little string or whatever. Totally looks like a banana, like a monkey banana zoo type of thing that you would see in the back of a kid, with this player just literally like grabbing him by the hips. But Damiani was like, fuck it, no, I'm scoring this, and I'm so excited. I'm trying to working with the Union. Bruno agreed to sit down for 25-30 minutes to chat here in the coming weeks in Spanish, and just ask him just about everything I possibly can for all of you. So I'm eager to do that. But that goal was just one of those finally, right? Or not really even finally, because
scored on his debut against Cincinnati. He's had chances the last couple of weeks, but to your point, finally gets the goal after the hard work the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, because he does so much of it, and a lot of it comes from exactly how he scored this one. It's just pure brute strength to hold off players, to drop off the ball, to then be the MLS hockey assist, right? And just it was, I don't know. I need to figure out who the photographers were and figure out there has to be a GIF of like all the images leading into the goal and just kind of putting them together. But that's got to be one of my favorite goals of this year. And of course, like it was not as spectacular per se as what Glesnes scored earlier in the game, but ultimately, when you think about the difficulty of what Damiani did there, that is just like an unbelievable goal that should be, I think, getting a lot more attention than what it is now.
Mike Barrera, my favorite gents. What's up, Mike? Great post game show yesterday with Pat, I believe was with you. So check out what Mike and Jose do over at Across the Pitch at AT Sports post game shows. And you guys actually had a show this past week right after Bradley Cornell's press conference. So trying something different. And yeah, that was pretty enjoyable. You guys talked for, I think, an hour. So yeah, I mean, Across the Pitch, give you guys a little bit different than what the typical Philadelphia Union shows are like. But Mike and Jose do fantastic work over at Across the Pitch. So making sure you guys check out their stuff if you haven't over there. But yeah, Kyle agrees here. Says Damiani and Brebro are very similar to him as well. That's why their partnership on the field isn't as effective as opposed to one is playing alongside Uwa. Yeah, because Uwa stretches the field, gets in behind. And I don't think Brebro and Damiani really get you that. And um, Shaggy says here, he says the Union should make a play for Jamie Vardy. Nah, that has Wrexham written all over it, in my opinion. I mean, no, it's not Patrick Mullins. Jesus Christ, the Columbus Crew striker, former University of Maryland for it. I wanted to say Mullins is his last name, right? I forget. I don't pay attention to Wrexham that much, but I think Jamie Vardy is like written completely into the stars. Like that's the star name that Wrexham would want for the continued story as of now in the championship. But yeah, I mean, I think not getting ahead, but if the Union want to make a move in the summertime, I would say attacking midfielder and center back. And yes, Glavinovic, I'm assuming is going to be back at some point this season. Bradley Cornell said multiple times that he's progressing well, actually progressing better. I saw him in the locker room after the game. He had his knee all taped up, but he was walking around. So, I mean, it's a positive to see. But even with a Glavinovic sign this winter, I still thought the Union probably needed another center back. We'll see what the Union do in the summertime. But if I was in charge of the Union, those are the two positions I would look at. And then, yeah, you could always look at strikers if a deal's to be made. I do wonder what the future holds for Marcus Anderson, but we shall see. You obviously have Eddie Davis and Sal Olivas, who scored this past weekend for Union 2 after a beautiful assist from Quinn Sullivan. I have no clue how Kevin saw that pass into Sal, and to Sal's credit, he stays on side and then he finishes well. So, I mean, credit to Sal for that goal against New York City 2 this past weekend. But getting back to the whole point, the Union are getting goals from players that aren't the forwards. Danley, Glavinovic, Glesnes, Lukic, Quinn Sullivan, Daniel Gazdag, if you don't want to include him as a forward. And this is really, really good to see. And Bradley Cornell was asked after the game, okay, well, is Danley now given the green light to shoot from outside the 18-yard box? And this is what Bradley Cornell had to say.
Yeah, I mean, part of the philosophy, we want to finish with final place, right? If that's one more pass to the next guy who's got a better position, or if it's brave and sees a gap and from the top of the box to let loose, why not? Yeah, I think we've been rewarded in many ways with the flexibility we have and the freedom that we have on the front line.
Yeah, I mean, pretty simple stuff there. Yeah, he has the green light, and why not when you're shooting from distance? And he gets a little bit help there from the post. But yeah, I think Bradley Cornell, and he said it towards there at the end, that it's all about the philosophy, right? It's what the forwards are doing, opening up space and everything that's creating spaces for Jovan Lukic, who loves to shoot from outside the 18. I think Jose Martinez, if he was still with the Union, would love the way that the Union are playing, just with the amount of space that the two attacking midfielders are creating, that the forwards are creating. That's opening up a lot of space there for Danley and Jovan Lukic to take shots outside the 18. And to the Union's credit, they're getting goals from those guys. 2 goals for Lukic now, 2 goals for Danley. You have Quinn Sullivan, who scored his first goal last week. And the Union have got 7 goals last year that weren't from forwards. 8 if you want to include Daniel Gazdag. But 12 different players overall scored last year for the Union, including forwards. And the Union already have 9 this season, 10 games in, that have scored a goal. 9 different players. And I think that is a credit to the philosophy where I just said it. The forwards opening up space, the attacking midfielders opening up space. You're scoring goals off a set piece, which the Union have always been deadly on set pieces since Frank Leich has been the throw-in, the set piece coach for the Union. But it is good to get goals contributions when, okay, you don't get a goal from the starting strikers this game in a Ty Bribo and a Mikael Uhre. You do get an assist with Mikael Uhre, but back-to-back games now you've had goals off the bench from your strikers, but it is good to see goals coming from different areas of the field.
I think it goes to show, and I might be quoting Carnell, and not probably because I wrote about it for MLS, but I think it goes to show the sacrifices that the strikers are making, whether it's getting themselves in not so great positions to draw away players, so midfielders can score like the Danleys of the world or the Quinns of the world, and just leaving it all out on the field to just body. I guess the term I should have used for Bruno's goal is like that was bully hours type of goal, right? Where like he just muscled his way through. So like. I think this is a great thing because ultimately the instinct of I don't think you are gonna have a year where Bruno. I earnestly think this after talking to some people and internally at the team and then externally people who have watched him out in Uruguay. But like Bruno's a player that in MLS should have 12 to 15 contributions, but most of them being goals. Like I don't see a world where that doesn't happen. And if he's only at 2 goals, like it goes to show again on what he's sacrificing. Same with Uhre, right? In terms of finding the players in better spots. I think of the assist that he gave Danley last game against Atlanta, right? Where like, sure, he could have tried to drive forward and try to score, but unselfishly thought, let me just slide this over for Danley to go to score. So, and it's the Lukic goals earlier this season are just unbelievable strikes that worked out for him. So I think it's a good thing to get the variety. I think it's fantastic. And I think any coach, regardless of system, will tell you, yeah, I want every player to score because ultimately that means I'm releasing and relieving some pressure from the strikers who are going to hear it from the press, right? The fear and the worry of Bruno Damiani not scoring. It's like, fuck off. He's doing so much else, right? Like just give him some time to get acclimated. I'm not an XG person like someone like Ali or some other people, but like the XG opportunity has had this season, as I understand it, have been unreal, where he's literally just an inch away or just barely missing. That once that clicks, I think it's going to be a different ballgame for him. I'm very high on Bruno, if you can't tell. I think he's going to be fantastic in this league.
I mean, as you should. I mean, he had a fantastic season on loan last year at River Plate. Or no, he wasn't on loan last year. It was the year prior. Or was it last year? I can't remember now. It all flows so fast.
Yeah, he was at Boston River.
Yeah. So he was on loan. And why did I say River Plate? Oh, my God, no. That would be fantastic if he was on loan there with the Argentine Giants. If he was on loan there, there's no way the Union would have got him. So thank you. Yeah, Boston Rivers in Uruguay. Jesus, man. I think this fan base would be over the moon if they got a player from the Giants of Argentina football or Boca Juniors. But yeah, I mean, Bruno Damiani, we started off talking about those are the positions where he needs to be inside the 18-yard box, bullying center backs, having balls cross to his head because he's an aerial threat. He's a physical player inside the 18-yard box, which makes life miserable for center backs. And so the Union, I said in my goals breakdown video, I think this is what we're going to see from the Union weeks to come. Take advantage of Bruno's strengths inside the 18-yard box. And when he's not inside the 18-yard box, he's dropping deep, collecting with his teammates, holding up the ball so well for his teammates to run onto. So yeah, I mean, it was good to see Bruno Damiani finally get on the score sheet for the Union, score his second goal of the season. And again, just seeing goals from other areas of the field. Again, fantastic goal from Jakob Glesnes. A little bit of help from the post with Danley Jean Jacques. But look, 2 set-piece goals, a moment of brilliance from Danley Jean Jacques. It's enough to punish DC United, a DC United team, like you said, Jose, is in a rebuild. And let's not forget, too, Matthias Klitsch, who's technically a DP player for DC United, even though he's with Atlanta, because DC United are having to pay him as a DP, even though he's no longer with DC United. So, I mean, that's a franchise that's completely rebuilding. They have some pieces that look to be promising, but yeah, when Wayne Rooney was the manager there, and let's face it, was essentially the GM too, bringing in players that he wanted. Yeah, it's a lot of pieces that DC United had done a good job this past offseason getting rid of, but they still got to continue to rebuild that roster and really turn it into what Troy Lizane really wants to build, who I think is a good coach too. Did well with New York Red Bulls last year. A little bit surprised he didn't get the interim coaching job, but glad to see DC United take advantage of a smart hire, in my opinion.
I think if anything, this goes to illustrate again, and I'm not here to bootlick, as some would say, but like, you have to be so thoughtful in this league when it comes to handing out some of these contracts, right? Like the designated player. And it seems like the Union have, since the Ernst Tanner era, sort of hit on most of them, right? Like, gosh, who are some other? Carranza was technically a young designated player, U22. So like, it seems like they're hitting on a lot of these really important signings. Obviously, Bruno is still sort of early in this stage, but I can't think of a reason to think that he's not going to be good either. So again, I think it's like a cautionary tale to see what's sort of happening in DC and having to sort out, for the lack of a better term, like bad contracts.
Yeah, so we have 10 minutes to wrap up the show, and let's go ahead and end it on the Union winning against teams that they should beat. And that's comments that a lot of people were saying at the start of the show. Mike Thomas said, winning the games they are supposed to win, that's what we needed. And I had mentioned a couple times at the beginning of the show as well. New England, St. Louis, Atlanta, DC United, that's 12 points against those teams. 12 points that the Union deserved, teams that they should have beat. Probably should have got some kind of points against New York City. That's a really bad New York City team. I know they just won against Toronto this weekend. Toronto's also a really, really bad team. But last year, I mean, you have your choices of the games that the Union lost. Montreal away, 4-2. Chicago Fire, 4-3. Toronto, 2-1 away. Miami at home. The Union are up because Miami's down to 10 men. And they lose that game 2-1. Last second goal to Leo Alfonso, the former Philadelphia Union Academy player. And look at the draws that the Union had last year. 0-0 at home against Toronto. They had the 2-2 draw against Montreal after, I believe, Jack Elliott got a red card in that game. I mean, so many games last year where the Union should have got points. They should have got wins. And they just found different ways to lose. And this year, Union are getting wins against the teams they should have got wins against. The only one I would argue, and maybe you can say even Nashville too, I know the referee had a lot to say, and look, you can't blame referees. I don't think the Union were great on the day either. Missed a lot of chances in that game against Nashville. We see what Nashville did last night against Chicago Fire. We're up 7-0 at one point, wound up winning that game 7-2. But to everybody's credit tonight, the Union are winning games that they're supposed to win. 4 wins already at Subaru Park in 6 games, and you win your games at home, you're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's just it, right? I think I've said it plenty of times with Mike on the air, but win at home, draw away, and maybe sneak away with a few wins away, and you're probably going to win the Supporters Shield. Honestly, that's what it takes. So they're doing what they're supposed to, and I think someone said it best here, and it's like, win, like, you can't exactly win the Shield now, but you can certainly give up a big lead to someone who's not going to let it go. So I'm intrigued to see if ever things settle with Vancouver. They're an unbelievable run here of doing so well in MLS, sort of bucking the trend a little bit here, Todd, with doing so well in MLS, but also potentially, I don't know, I guess 90 minutes away in a 2-goal lead from going to the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, all while juggling MLS at the same time it's unreal. So once they settle and come down to earth, maybe things will be a little bit different for who's going to be leading the Supporters Shield. But as of right now, the Union are just trying to keep pace. And I don't know that their focus is going to be the Supporters Shield, or maybe if it continues to go this way, yeah. But I can't wait for us to shift and talk about US Open Cup in a future episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be interesting. I mean, coming up May 7th. And again, we talked about it last episode. I'll be curious to see how many fans show up for that game. But I mean, just looking at it quickly, the Supporters Shield, Union sit in fourth place. It goes Cincinnati. They have 22 points. Then Columbus, 21 points. Vancouver with 20. Philadelphia Union with 19. And Mike talked about it earlier about how important it is for the goal differential. And Bruce mentions right here, he says, for him, the biggest difference this year to last year was having Blake this year. And I think that is a big difference. But then Mike brought this comment that I think got lost a little bit at the beginning of the show. He says a lot of the goals we've been getting this year in general seem to be low percent chances, which is great, but the number of high percentage chances seem to be low. And I agree. Scoring that goal like Glesnes did, that's very, very low. That's a fantastic goal to hit. Danley Jean Jacques, that's a low percentage chance. And how many times did we hear Jim Curtin say over the years about, sometimes you make your own luck? And he mentioned it so many times, we're not getting lucky. We're not getting lucky. We're just finding stupid ways to lose games. And so far, it does seem like the Union are getting a little bit of luck. But you got to be in the right position to create those chances. You got to keep coming out and trying things over and over again that that you're good at. The Union know they're good at set pieces, and so they're going to send crosses into the box at tall players like a Nathan Harriel, a Bruno Damiani, a Mikau, or Jakob Glesnes, because one of those chances are eventually going to come out and connect. And so, yeah, I do think Andre Blake's made a big difference this year, 4 clean sheets on the year, but the Union are scoring a lot of low percentage chances, and hopefully that continues for this team. But at the same time, right, you can't win Supporters Shield now. You can lose it, and the Union sit in fourth place in the Supporters Shield standings, only 3 points off of Cincinnati. And yeah, look, Union, I think, wouldn't complain 10 games in, and I think after 8-10 games, you know who the Union are. You continue to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You're going to be in the playoffs when 60% of your league makes the playoffs.
Yeah, Todd, your infamous clip of if you don't make the playoffs, you should be fired. Well, there you go. You got it. So you nailed it. Spot on. You predict everything. Yeah. As I think more and more about it really was a tale of just unbelievable ways that the Union lost. And God, like that Miami loss with the last minute run by that former academy kid whose name I'm already forgetting. It seems like Cornell has this team humming right now. It seems like the players have really bought in, at least everything I've heard. The players have absolutely bought into the system, into the idea that it's hard to argue with what they're doing right now. It's just, can they, and I assume they can they make the right decisions when it comes to where they stand closer to the summer leading into the fall, into the playoffs, right? And are they going to be a buying team? Are they going to be a selling team per se? Every team's a selling team unless you're a big club with a lot of money. That's just a fact. It's just what do they actually want to do? How much more reshaping of this squad do they want to do come when does it open? July something or August?
July. I don't have the date in front of me, but
that's
okay.
Once that window's open, it's also interesting. It'll be really interesting to see in between now and then. And I sort of mentioned it earlier as we're getting ready to wrap up, but who outside of the league will be interested in players that are currently within this squad. And that doesn't necessarily mean offers. Interest does not equal offers, but I would be very shocked if there's not some strong interest on someone like Quinn. There is already interest. I know that for a fact. I know there were reports going around and the interest is real. Obviously, I don't report on rumors or speculation, but that one is legit. So do what you will with it. But that doesn't mean that an offer came through or anything. Not that I'm aware.
Jim Curtin said the same thing last year too, where there would be all these reports for players that there is interest, but if there's no offer, then there's no offer. So everybody can be interested in players, but if there is no official offer, then the interest means nothing.
Yeah, no. And if anything, if we want to spend like 2 minutes on Quinn here, like I don't know what's going to happen with him, but the Union certainly did a bang up job of letting him grow into what he is now, and certainly have him on a contract that would demand some real money from outside suitors to take him away, right? With a literal fresh contract from this offseason. So we'll see what happens. The Union could maybe get an offer for him, and it's really up to them then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if a team does come in and have a legit offer in the summertime, I'd imagine it's going to be buying high. That first contract, Quinn's off to a great start, and we talked it last week. If Quinn continues to play at the level he's played at for the most part this season, he should have a chance to play in the Gold Cup this summer with the US. So we shall see what happens. Michael says there's no replacement for Quinn, Kai, or Blake. No way. And yeah, exactly. I mean, Kai Wagner, I would argue,
Danley.
is probably the biggest. Danley's been a big part too. So I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys on this Union team that tie. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that seem irreplaceable. Daniel Gazlag seemed irreplaceable there at one point, and we'll see what the Union go out and do. Real quick, I want to just mention something about must-win games. Montreal should theoretically be a must-win or an easy win for the Union. On paper, you would say, okay, yeah, there's a team that is only one or two teams in MLS without a win this season. But I shall remind Union fans, the Union have a 3-9-2 away record in Montreal, with their last win coming on March 5th, 2022 at Stade Olympique. They had a 2-2 draw last year at Stade Saputo. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty bad Montreal team. And hopefully the Union can take advantage, at least come away with a point. But we shall see what happens. But regardless, continue to ride this high Union 2-game winning streak, sit in fourth place in the Supporter Shield standings. Mandy says Todd and Jose are irreplaceable. Appreciate that. But I think some people would say that's not so much the case, because John says everyone is replaceable. Yeah, we are replaceable.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Mandy.
Just continued. We were up there on that high with Mandy. Now we brought back down to reality. But speaking of reality, if people want to continue to, and this isn't a great transition, but if people want to read what you write for MLS, which seems to be reality, always good pieces. Jose, where can people follow you on social media and find your work?
You can find my MLS writing at MLSsoccer.com, on social media at Jose R Nuñez 91. A couple of things coming up. Obviously, MLS Soccer, it's up in the air who I write about, what I write about. I sort of get a green light of, like, this is what we want you to focus on. Do what you will with it. So that's TBD. But as I mentioned earlier, working with the club to get with Bruno think about what we did with Julian Carranza last year, or a couple of years ago. It feels like now Jose Martinez as well. Bueno, sort of like a 25. Talk about soccer, but also like background. Get the fandom to really get to know who this guy is, and really sit down and flesh him as a personality out. Also working through Anthony Fontana. I'll have him in front of a screen or in front of a microphone here in the coming weeks as well, and trying so hard to get Corey Burke in front of a microphone as well, but he's proving to be difficult. And then this weekend, I'll actually be making my way to Rhode Island. RIFC, Rhode Island Football Club. They are having their stadium opener this weekend, and you don't get to see a lot of those. So I was very happy when they were more than eager to have me. So excited for that. So more to come.
Absolutely. And John says real quick here, says if we could sell you two for 10 million to Europe, ... Hey, look, if we can get some of that transfer fee, sell me to Europe. I don't care. I mean, like MLS does with the trades and everything, where Daniel Gazlag, I'm assuming, probably took 10% of that deal. I think it's 10%, right, Jose, from the transfer fee or trade or whatever it was. Yeah, if that's a thing for Europe, yeah, you guys can sell me. I'd be more than happy to go to Europe if I get some of that fee. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, live every single podcast, youtube.com/Free Kick Pod. Goals breakdown video from this DC United game is live now. So after you guys get done with this video, make sure you go ahead and check out the goals breakdown video. 3 goals, 5 saves from Andre Blake, 1 chance created towards the end of the game. So not a long video, because there wasn't a lot that happened in this game. Like you guys saw, we did this episode under an hour, which isn't typical for us too, but we got it done. And if you guys want to check out my writing, the podcast, and goals breakdown all in one place, thefreekick.substack.com. But yeah, looking forward to this upcoming week. Nice to have off again Thursday and Friday. So we'll see if I get up to union practice one of these days. If not, then I'll probably be on the water fishing, because it's always a good time to, take my mind off of life. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.